Okay, so DJ, thank you very much for joining me. Cheers for your time. As always, it's lovely to speak to you. We'd love to get to know a little bit more about you. Obviously, you voiced the protagonist in our game, the unnamed mysterious protagonist. You were also the mysterious and somewhat more stereotypical detective in ADD. So I could imagine a lot of our fans and certainly other people would love to just know a bit more about you and your acting career.
You bet, man. I appreciate the opportunity. I was actually, this has all come fairly more recently, because for the longest time I was a full-time singer-songwriter. So like if you look up Dan Johnson music, you'll see all of my music that's out there a lot more quickly than you'll see the acting stuff. And so I put out an album, I guess in about 2014 maybe, and it did really well. It made it to the top 40 radio charts and
So,
had videos on TV and all that kind of stuff. And so I took off touring and I went full time. I quit my big boy job and just started playing music. And then I put out a second album in 2017 that had a lot of critical acclaim also, called Hemingway, and that one had a 2-year tour. So I was on the road, like 66 cities a year. I think 2019 I did 66 cities in the US and then
wow.
5 countries in Europe. Yeah. Well, after the Hemingway tour, it was time to like go. It was actually a nonprofit tour that I was doing for veterans benefits. My dad was a veteran who took his life when I was young.
Mm.
And so I did a veteran suicide prevention tour. So I didn't make any money for those 2 years. Everything from the sale of the album and the book and the tour all went to veteran suicide prevention organizations. So I just lived on savings. So basically, by the end of 2019, I was broke. And I
Mm.
mean, like flat broke, like ugly broke,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
But I had a booking agent based on all of the publicity from everything I'd done in the past, who had set me up on a fantastic tour across the Western United States that was supposed to start in 2020, in like spring of 2020. And that was going to be probably a quarter to a half of my year's income right there. And then, of course, COVID hit. And I got a phone call on, I think it was February 24th of 2020, that said, all venues are shut down. The tour has been canceled. And I'm sitting here with literally no money and no way to earn it. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do? So I had acting experience from like high school, college days. And I had a friend of mine who is an author who had written a book, and he asked me, because he liked the sound of my voice, he said, would you narrate this? Because he had narrated his prior book previous,
Cool.
and he hated the experience, hated it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I never want to have to do that again, but I really would like it if you would narrate my book. So I narrated his book, and it did well. And because that did well, the publishing company had me narrate all the rest of his books.
Nice.
And then other people from that publishing company, yeah, like it just like the word caught on, and I started narrating audiobooks a lot. Well, I enjoyed it. And what I really enjoyed about it was characters. So I started narrating like fantasy novels with, dwarves and dragons and wizards and orcs. And
Mm.
I got to use all my different accents and all the, and I was like, that was the part that I enjoyed more than just narrating, just reading a book. And so because I enjoyed the character work so much, I got super into it, like almost like nerdy character acting stuff where I was like, I am this wizard, And so I hit up a friend of mine in Hollywood. He's a producer now for Sony. He wasn't at the time. He wasn't with Sony Pictures. Now he's a producer for Sony.
Cool.
And he's a high school buddy of mine. I said, Ben, if I'm really enjoying this, dude. Like I didn't see this coming. I was 43 years old, and I was like, man, I never thought I would find something I enjoy so much.
Yeah. Wow.
But can I get into this as like a full-time job and be like a character actor? And he showed me all the places to go. He's like, all right, go create your profiles here, here, here. There's several different websites where you find voice actors, and literally like it was like gift from the universe stuff. Like it just like the
Nice.
floodgates opened, and I was
Hmm.
just slammed with work. I've been full time ever since, and now music has become honestly just more of a hobby,
Yeah.
as opposed to like a full time pursuit.
Hmm.
And I just do voice acting full time now. So
Wow.
that's that. And then I ended up because I was doing so much of the voice acting stuff. I kind of did this backward, where now I'm starting to get more TV and movie role kind of stuff. It doesn't come up very often, honestly. The biggest thing that I worked on recently was a show called 1883, which if people are familiar with the television show, Yellowstone, which is huge.
Oh yeah, yeah.
1883 is the prequel to that, of the family that came out of the, yeah, this is the family that came out of the Civil War and ended up becoming the family that, you know, is in Yellowstone. And that was me. I was in there. I was in a scene with Sam Elliott, who is just an amazing human. Like, you know, like I'm a peon. Like I'm nobody at all. And there were lots of stars. Like Tom Hanks was there that day.
No
The main stars are Faith Hill. Yeah, yeah. The main stars are Faith Hill and Tim McGraw. And
Cool.
out of Tom Hanks, Faith Hill, Tim McGraw, all of these like superstars that are there, the only person who actually came over and hung out with all the rest of us was Sam Elliott. And I was like, dude, that's classy. That's
Yeah.
like he's a hero actor of mine, right? I mean, like Tombstone. I mean, there's like Tombstone, Roadhouse, like all these movies that I freaking love so much. Like his most recent big one, I think, was A Star Is Born, with him and Bradley Cooper
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Lady Gaga. And so like he's just as much of a big star as anybody. But he was
Yeah.
just totally hanging out with us. Hey man, how y'all doing? Y'all having a good day? Like, yeah. So he was a super sweetheart.
Oh,
But
of course.
I
I
love doing
literally,
screen acting.
sorry, Dan, I just Googled Sam Elliott. I know
Yeah.
exactly who you mean. He has, I mean, no wonder you guys got on. You have the grisliest voices in Hollywood, I think. But yeah, he's.
You know what? Somebody one time called me the poor man Sam Elliott, and I was like, I will totally take that. I
I
will be the
endorse
poor
that
man Sam
claim.
Elliott. If you can't afford Sam Elliott, yeah, if you can't afford Sam Elliott for your project, you just call me and I'll get the same thing done for a
You
lot
know
cheaper,
what?
right?
That's exactly what
So,
we
but it
did,
was
DJ.
cool.
I was looking for Sam Elliott actors. You came up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's matter of fact, when I started, it was actually on one of the voice acting profiles. It was like, you know, if you want that Sam Elliott, you know, deep Southern, you know, or Western kind of
Mhm,
voice, this is the
mhm.
guy. And you know, obviously I haven't used that at all with the work that you and I have done. But it's definitely in the wheelhouse. But
Same.
you know how cool that is to like look up to somebody and say, this is the person that I emulate, you know, for my
Mm,
career, and then get
mhm.
the opportunity to actually be on stage with him. It was freaking magical, dude.
I can imagine.
And so the only drawback to stage acting is that I have a very specific look. I have an enormous beard, obviously, and a bald head, you know, and a big handlebar mustache. And like, how often does somebody need that for a movie or a TV show, right? It's not.
Yeah.
I'm either like a bouncer, yeah, I'm either like a bouncer or
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
biker. Like that's
biker.
the only two
Yeah.
jobs. And so, yeah, in 1883, I played a Civil War hero. It was the job that I had, but like this works for that, right? They made me
Mm.
grow my hair out a little bit because you know they couldn't have a shaved head, so I grew my hair out. Um, but yeah, it's rare that I get the opportunity to do a screen role. So voice acting is where I really get to enjoy the craft of acting.
Like, what do you like about voice acting specifically? I mean, like you covered a
Yeah,
lot of that, of course, but I just finished an interview with somebody else, Joel, who's a great voice actor, an incredibly eccentric person, and he loves the fact that you can focus on that inner voice, that vocal kind of character construction, and
yeah,
really hone down stuff that you might not be able to because you have to think about body language
yeah,
and how your character performs in a physical sense. It's just going to be what do you
yeah,
love about voice acting specifically?
dude. Well, I mean, like whoever it was that you spoke with before, I'm not sure which one of the actors from the program it was, but or from the gaming it was, but like you know, like Color Zero, you know, all the Pitch Black stuff. That that really hits the nail on the head because it's super cool when we were talking about like the video work, like when you go through my YouTube channel and you get to see some of the stuff that's been done, right? For me to sit there and think about character and get to read that script and say, okay, who is this character? What is he like? Um, how does he sound? How does he interact with people? And then to tie that into, because there's a couple different styles of acting. One of them is where you use your own personal emotions, right? And you pour yourself into a character. The other one is like method acting, where you become the other person, right?
Mm,
And the thing that I really enjoy is taking a character and saying, okay, if this person were me as opposed to the other way around, how would I, you know, what would it sound like if I were this character? And that's why sometimes people will ask me to do, because whenever you do like animated TV shows or you know things like that, oftentimes a lot of the big stars in voice acting, they have like 27 different voices that they use. Like if you watch Family Guy, you know, or Simpsons, or you know anything that's an animated show, Archer, a lot of those it's like one person and seven of those characters are the same person, right? Well, that's cool. I mean, I wish I could do that, but the style that I use is more like you get this voice, and the
Mhm.
only thing that's going to change a little bit is like I might lose a little bit. Like I've got just a little bit of Texas accent, right? When I
Yeah.
normally speak conversationally. So if I'm playing some detective from the Northeast, that's going to go away, and I'll lose that accent and start to pick up a different one. But to me, I think if people hire me and say, "Hey, I like your voice. Can you change it and be a totally different person?" I'm like, why would I do why would I do
Yeah.
that? Why did you hire me if this
You've
is
just
what you
told
were
me you
looking for
like
to do?
my voice, man. Why now are you wanting me to
Exactly.
change it, right?
Yeah. So like when I get a character, like you just get me,
Mm,
if I were in that role. And that's why the detective stuff. I love doing detective stuff. I love doing military
mm,
stuff. I love doing Western games.
yeah.
I like being the character, and I feel honored when I get the opportunity to do it. So whenever I play a character, it just sounds like me, dude.